Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Zimmerman and I'm a member of the 20 under 35 cohort. I'm one of the 20 people under 35 who the industry has named as a future leader. We are proud, along with SES, to be a sponsor of this new, special series of the Better Satellite World called Space for All. And now, here's the host of our series, Lou Zaccarilla.
Hey, do you feel like you need a hit of something to actually think about? Well, you've launched to the right place. Well, welcome to the next episode of our new series, Space for All. Today, we're going to talk talent. Whether you're in Nepal, Nigeria, or East 129th Street in New York, there are two things that are constant: a thirst for equality and a passion to fulfill human destiny and to go into space. But we need talent to get there, all of the talent on this globe. So today on the Better Satellite World, we ask, what is going on in the world of global talent as it relates to our industry and the push for diversity? Has the industry been welcoming to this idea, or have we been resisting? What are the obstacles, and what are the engines of global talent? Well, we have an amazing group to speak with about this, but first, Space for All is sponsored by SES. SES is a satellite and terrestrial telecommunications network provider headquartered in Luxembourg that supplies video and data connectivity everywhere to everyone, from broadcasters to governments. SES says, let us take your story anywhere. And by the 20 under 35 cohort of 2020, a group of young professionals from everywhere in the industry who are, their peers say, the stars of tomorrow. The Better Satellite World is also supported by the corporate partners of SSPI, Eutelsat, EchoStar Hughes, Peraton, and Access Intelligence, content with context. Additional support comes from the 3,000 professional members of SSPI and our chapters around the world, including its Nigerian chapter. Speaking of that chapter, among our guests today are representatives from Nigeria. Abiodun Ogunbiyi. Abiodun is an educator who was named to the 20 under 35 cohort in 2019. Japheth Pwanidi Zubairu is a senior manager at Nigerian Communications Satellite, where he has worked for 13 years. Prior to that, he was an engineer with the National Space Research and Development Agency. Beluchi Celine Nwanisobi. Beluchi is an assistant director at the Nigerian Communications Commission, the telecommunications regulatory agency of Nigeria. She holds a PhD in public administration. In addition, we have Abhas Maskey. Mr. Maskey is singularly responsible for igniting enthusiasm for space and satellites in Nepal. Thanks to his efforts with an international satellite project called BIRDS, Nepal established its very first space agency. Abhas joined me in London for the Better Satellite World Awards dinner last year, where he accepted an award on behalf of NigComSat-1, a low-orbit research satellite. Bruce Lincoln is a longtime friend and a telecommunications pioneer. He is currently the co-founder of Silicon Harlem, where he has increased STEM participation in New York and the Harlem community, and has established a pool of talent for the growing IT sector worldwide. I'd like to welcome them all here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lou. It's a pleasure to be here with such a distinguished panel of innovators.
And we really do have a distinguished panel. We've got 3 continents represented today, which reflects the fact that the space and satellite industry, like satellites, has a global footprint. Now, each of you are in a different place in terms of talent development and deployment. So I'm going to start at home here in New York, and then we'll move around to each of you and talk about your specific situations. Bruce, back to you. For those of our listeners who don't know the program, in which you and Clay Banks have started, what is the mission of Silicon Harlem as it relates to the development of talent for the local and global information technology industry, and how, for example, could some of the talent coming from New York and the Silicon Harlem network fill a pipeline in commercial space, which of course has a range of increasingly diverse needs?
Thanks so much for that question, Lou. Let me just share with everyone the founding mission of Silicon Harlem. We were founded in 2014 to ensure that Harlem, with that being a model for other underserved communities, was fully platformed to take advantage of the digital economy. And an important part of that is making sure that the young people are given access to state-of-the-art STEM education, so that what they're able to do is, one, learn the kind of intellectual skills that go into being able to work in these fields: engineering, coding, design thinking, computational thinking, but as well being taught that they will become the leadership in these fields. Because of the growth of the technology industry in New York, our specific focus was, of course, on increasing IT participation here in the city. But that type of talent, creativity, certainly can move into the space industry, which I believe private space is going to be the largest economy in the history of the planet. So there's opportunities there.
Yeah, yeah, a $1.1 trillion industry, according to Morgan Stanley. So you guys are really positioned well. The other question on that, Bruce, is Silicon Harlem having success keeping its local talent local? Because we've always had problems with in different parts of the world as well with letting talent sort of get away. Are you guys seeing success in that area?
We're seeing tremendous growth in that, and it's unfortunate it's due to COVID, but we've had to basically expand remote learning programs. So all of that is local, but luckily with internet platforms, we can reach all these young people simultaneously all over the city.
Yep.
So we're really excited about that. And then what we're looking at is how does that then tie back into the local universities, the city colleges, the Medgar Evers, the Columbias, so that that talent also is identified and brought to bear within our university system. But more so with products such as Cosmos, where the idea is that the test bed is in the local community. These types of products allow for young people to participate with leading scientists real time while they're in school on cutting edge technology initiatives. So we think all of that helps create a focus where we can then point them to the stars.
And you've got some built-in advantages, and that you've got what is it, 7 or 8 universities in colleges, just circling the area. Let me go to Nepal. Abhas, as I mentioned, there's a kind of a different situation in terms of talent there. You didn't have a lot of talent sort of built in. You, as I say, in many ways, single-handedly have inspired the industry. You received, as I had mentioned, the Better Satellite World Award 2 years ago, and were credited with getting the nation focused. First of all, how far has Nepal developed over the past few years in terms of the things that we're talking about, which is to generate now first enthusiasm and then programs that produce industry-related talent?
Yeah, so I think you can compare the situation in Nepal to the Sputnik stage in space development. It's really in the early stages, I would say. Up until 2018, we had invested $0 in space. And because of the BIRDS program that my professor, Professor Mengucho, led and designed, we were able to invest $150,000 for the very first time for space. Right? So it had to go through 3 different governments. A lot of bureaucrats were involved. About 100 different people were involved in getting that done. So it was definitely a lot of challenge to be able to get through that. And because we invested in that 1 kilo satellite, and we were able to then launch it and deploy it and make it work, what we got out of that is a small group of Nepalese who got trained in the process, right? So we got to learn the process of building a satellite and then continue that with the Kitsune project, which is also part of QTech. I would say we are still at the very early stage, but that was the direct sort of investment. What I see, the indirect sort of outcome from that investment was that a lot of young kids now actually got to see the satellite being deployed from International Space Station. Mm-hmm. And they are more curious about it. They're asking questions. They're more perceptive to the ideas of space. So I think what we have done with that 150,000 is not just launched a 1 kilo satellite that has made Nepal enter space, but also expanded the imagination of Nepalese and shown that a Nepali can rub shoulders with Japanese, with Koreans, with nations from different nationalities, from people from different nationalities, and basically work hard in that particular sector, right? So what we'll see and what I think will happen is that in the next 10, 20 years, because we sparked that small imagination, we'll have more kids in that particular sector. So although what the group of talent, the pool of talent right now is a handful of Nepalese, I think we'll see an exponential rise in the future.
Yeah, and again, you use the key word there, engaging imagination and self-confidence, right? Once they saw that little nanosat launched, or the CubeSat, was a CubeSat, I believe, right, off the space station.
Yeah, it's a CubeSat.
Once they saw that, you know, it was launched and launched successfully, and that Nepal was all of a sudden a spacefaring nation, something happened. It sounded like some confidence, some emotional confidence was triggered.
Definitely, I think what we have seen with Nepalese is that we need a boost of confidence because we feel that, you know, everybody's been telling us we are a third world country, right? And we are a nation that has not progressed technology-wise. And that is true because we depend so much on imports from China and India, from shampoos to everything else. So to be able to build our own satellite and launch it and make it work, I think the next generation just thought that, hey, if a Nepali can do it, perhaps we can do it in the future as well.
Yeah, and of course you've got models to look at all around the world through the engagement with SSPI, and now with talent development, you can look at, you know, the United States and look at Silicon Harlem and say, okay, now here's how we hook the universities up. Here's how we build these kind of programs to really stimulate our industry. So you've got this network of peers now, which has really been great. Yeah. I'm gonna go to Africa now. I'm gonna talk to Abiodun. You have been very active in advocacy on the issue of space inclusion. You were, I think, invited by the African Union to be part of the Innovating Education in Africa event. And we're one of the 4 representatives from Nigeria to meet at the UN's Office for Outer Space. So I want to ask you about the role of innovation in education in Nigeria. Where has education advanced to, and has the educational system led to more participation in the industry, or has there been another path to progress?
So, you know, when we are talking about innovation in education in Africa, you know, Africa Union is actually trying to make sure that they elevate Africa continent to be able to compete with the rest of the world in the next few years, maybe in the next 5 years. So that was why they launched the program on innovating education in Africa. Actually, in order to innovate education in Africa, the program we are launching through our academy is actually centered on some cardinal objectives. We have 7 cardinal objectives that we are pursuing. So the first one is centered around hope. So the second one is centered around persistence. So the third one is passion. The fourth one is innovation itself. The fifth one is about leadership. The next one is integrity. And then the last one is equality. So we believe that if we are able to work through these 7 core values of our organization, we will be able to achieve our aim. And at the end of the day, the topic you sent to me concerning globalizing talent development will have been achieved. Definitely in our organization, our target is actually to work towards 2025. That by the year 2025, we want to ensure that most African youths are embedded in innovation as far as space is concerned. If you look at everything we do today, we cannot do without space science. We are communicating presently now from different continents around the world. We are sharing ideas because space science is there to help us. Without space science, without space and satellite innovation, we will not be able to communicate the way we are doing now. So the 7 cardinal objectives that I highlighted before, the first one is about hope. We believe that cultural stigmas and religious situations have already deprived some people access to innovation in technology, not to talk of space science alone. So what we first of all do is that we instill that hope in our students. We make them to believe that they can do it. We share our experiences because where I came from a very poor background where nobody even expected that I would amount to anything in life. So where nobody believed that I would amount to anything in life. I could imagine when I started my project, my business several years ago, one of my mentors that I so much relied on called me and told me that, look, Abiodun, you cannot amount to anything in life. You are only chasing a shadow that you cannot catch. So that was what one of my mentors told me. But I believe so much in myself. So I used to first of all use my story to instill hope in all our students. I made them to see where I came from. I made them to see what somebody has spoken into my life. And I used to make them to believe that, yes, this is where I'm going. I could remember when they first of all published my name on SSPI website then. A lady contacted me from Turkey, Chiamaka in Nigeria, a little girl. She called me there and said, look, Abiodun, how did you get to this level? That initially my belief was that Africa and Nigeria, we cannot get there in this life again. But when I saw your name and I read your profile, I believe that we can get there one day. You really inspired me. So that is the kind of hope we are talking about. So the second one about the passion. So we make sure that we incorporate, we recruited teachers and educators that can do the job for us. Teachers and people that have this good story to tell our students. So,
and for a moment, before I speak with our other colleagues from Nigeria, I wanted to turn to Bruce and Abhas, just to comment on what you've been saying. Now, Bruce, obviously you guys have a much more advanced, sophisticated program. Is there anything in the objectives that he laid out that you could sort of advise on and say, give more emphasis to integrity or more emphasis here or more emphasis to mentorship? How would you sort of advise him, SSPI Nigeria, on this?
Thanks for that question. And I was excited to hear that the program is based on a set of humanistic values. I think that's very important because what you're then saying is that we're going to empower the young people, we're going to create opportunities for the young people. And then you can just wrap around the programmatics that get them into all these different areas of focus. So from the standpoint of Silicon Harlem, we are prepared to be helpful in any way that we can, but we're in the same place as it has to do with the development of sort of a value system of inclusion and fairness and equity. So, I'm excited, and it's clear that Africa is going to be where some of the next great scientific talent, entrepreneurial talent is going to come from and help drive the world forward.
Yeah, thanks for that. Abhas, to you, obviously the passion part of it must sound familiar. Are there similarities? Are there any notes that you can compare? Because again, you've taken Nepal a very, very long way in this area.
Right. So, I mean, I guess what Nigeria faces is very similar to what Nepal faces as well, in a way that I got to see a lot of villages in Nepal, got to trek to those places, to remote places, and I got to see the schools there, meet the students, and talking to them, I can see that there are genuine talents that are not being harnessed, not being given the opportunity. And I think the biggest challenge for us living in countries like Nigeria or Nepal is to create that environment for the next generation to step on us and then move forward. I think the idea of planting an idea on them, right? So saying, hey, you can do it.
Yep.
And let's say I wasn't the best in my class, but I was still able to do the things that I've been able to do. So you can do it too. That's one thing. And then the second thing is, now since we have planted that idea, how can we give that person the opportunity to then excel? Can we create a program? Can we support it economically? Can we actually bring like-minded people together, share ideas? And I think that's what we are doing in Nepal right now with our CanSat programs as well.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that is telling your story, and I was struck by Abiodun in the person from Turkey, giving just by telling the story of success, it inspires another, and that's really how human beings work, I think, most effectively. I'm going to move on to Japheth. Has it been a breeding ground for industry talent in the region? We know, for example, in the United States, the large companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and some of our major companies like SES often are the places where the industry continues to flourish and where the smaller, newer companies and sectors of the industry come from. Has that been the case with Nigerian Communications Satellite Company, or is it coming from some other place?
Actually, NigComSat has played a very significant role in nurturing talents in Nigeria and Africa at large. At the beginning of our satellite work, it was like a zero area. We don't have knowledge, we don't have idea, but from zero, we're able to launch NigComSat with the help of the Chinese cast. And then now, as I talk to you now, NigComSat has well over 100 qualified satellite engineers that have been trained in communication satellite and various space fields. Not only that, we are being in partnership with NASA too, with our help. We have been collaborating in that section. They have over 120 qualified PhD holders. And they are really helping tremendously in Nigeria and also Africa. So the real essence of having NigComSat so as to nurture talent has been effectively being achieved. And we're still achieving more. That's what I can say.
Yeah. What has been the most successful program in nurturing talent lately? Is there something that you can refer to and say, we think this program will continue because it has been successful?
Yes, there is this program that is called KHITT, that is Know-How Technology Transfer Program. Know-How Technology, that's KHTT. That is a program that after the launch of NigComSat 1, there was a plan that trained those engineers to masters to PhD level, both in China and in UK. And that thing has helped tremendously.
Yeah, very good. And obviously the enthusiasm is continuing there for the industry.
Yes.
Well, I want to stay on this issue of mentorship, and I want to speak with Beluchi. You have a remarkably diverse background professionally. You've helped facilitate learning and development programs, including coaching and mentoring. How do you mentor a person, Beluchi, to pursue a career in the space and satellite industry, and then to pursue it on a global scale? Is there a way to do that, or do you just, again, tell your story and hope that it influences people as Abhas Maskey described?
When you look at the satellite industry as it is today, we realize the fact that is a whole lot of diverse activities going on at the same time. It's multidisciplinary in nature, and it also encompasses many activities. In mentoring people, you would first of all find a way to identify where their career plan is focused on. What gaps are they lacking? What do they want to achieve for the future? And you'll be able to counsel, take the person through. Mentoring as a whole is a long-term activity. It's unlike coaching that will mean coaching that has to do with teaching for a short while and trying to bridge certain skill gaps. So in mentoring people in the satellite industry, I think the main approach the way I will approach is to look at what we intend to achieve, first of all, and look at the person's entry level in the industry. If a person is a secondary school student, that's high school, as you have in America, we call it secondary school here. If a person is he a university student or a tertiary institution. So depending on the academic level of the person, we can deploy certain skills or activities to mentor the person. I think for secondary school, high school, and very young people, we could just create the awareness of satellite industry activities through videos, through talks, and such things. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that when my colleague here mentioned something, a Nepalese guy, he said when the satellite was launched at Nepal, it not only helped to launch the satellite, it created awareness in young talents that this is possible. And it will now make them to focus their interest in either would they want to develop a career in that field. So that's also a sort of creating awareness and inspiring them to channel their energy and career towards a particular path. Yeah. Then most importantly, what are those skills that we are looking for, we need in the satellite industry? We all know that the STEM courses are very important. So in mentoring people or in mentoring a person, probably someone as an undergraduate student, we would be looking at placing emphasis on STEM courses, even right from while they're in high school, so that they can graduate and choose that path before that can qualify them to become practitioners in the industry. So STEM courses will be focused on one, and the STEM courses, what are those courses? The sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Besides STEM courses, we all know that we have people like me, that is a human resource practitioner, social scientist, that helps to coordinate the activities of the staff and provide support. So we should also emphasize on such subjects or such areas like law, economics, and other things.
Yes.
So
yes.
I will leave this area for now. I'll leave the courses that should qualify our career paths to be in satellite industry. I'll move towards how can we now mentor, besides counseling for people to focus on careers that can lead them to activities in the industry. We can also have some mentorship programs designed for budding professionals in the industry, such as forming clubs. Like for us in Nigeria SSPI, we have our what we call the Junior Engineering Technology Scheme, whereby we bring young high school students to come together and practice certain activities to expose them to what we do in the industry, the satellite industry.
Right. So they come together regularly and persistently to go back to Abiodun's objectives. It's persistence, right?
Yes, they do. And we also visit schools to design small projects with them, and show them what satellite looks like and how we can launch that into space. That also helps to, really create awareness and elicit their interest in the activities of the industry. Then again, we look at how we can encourage these people, because we understand that the satellite technology industry is not a very cheap one. For one to be able to play big in that industry, we would also need to have some finance and some sponsorship to enable these talented young ones to have the education they require. So we look at career counseling, we look at providing opportunities for them to know about scholarship and study opportunities within the country or outside the country, anywhere we can get that. That will also give them the international exposure they require. Most importantly, we ensure that we are giving them free as SSPI members. Students are given free opportunity to be members. And being members of SSPI locally, it gives them the opportunity to attend seminars, our workshops, other things that we do free of charge.
Good.
So that
Yes.
that helps to also give them the necessary exposure and the awareness that they require to grow in their knowledge building. We also look at, we also run programs to ensure that we keep them abreast of what is going on in the world. We know that the internet is there. There is the SSPI international website, but some of them may not have the opportunity to have access to the internet. We sometimes conduct online quiz, provide them quiz in school for them to participate in and educate them on what is going on around the world where satellite activities are concerned. Okay, I think I have talked about mentoring. That has to do with.
Thank you, Salucci. I think that's a very comprehensive answer to that question about what you're doing there, again, in terms of mentoring and programmatically, to quote Bruce Lincoln, to make sure that these things continue. So, and SSPI, of course, we're delighted that you guys are involved with us, and we'll continue to work with you. We're kind of running out of time, but I wanted to ask a final question to some of you, hopefully all of you, if we can get it in. Of course, you're all in different countries and different places with regard to your educational systems, your economies, your relative social and cultural experiences. But I want to ask, starting with Bruce, Bruce, what is needed to raise up the talent globally to ensure that the future space and satellite industry talent pool is as diverse as humanity, represents everybody this time around at every level of industry? How deeply do we need to go to answering that question?
Well, you know me for a long time. You know that one of the things that's always driven my work was this idea of constructivist and constructionist learning. The fact that we all basically can learn. We all learn more when we work in teams and on creative projects with a focus. So I think what we can do, and I think we all can believe in, is this shared idea of constructivist learning that's inclusive, that's personal, and that uses technology as the way to bring us all together. And then I think that would, in short thrift, allow us to create a global educational system, which will basically propel our young people into all manner of tech-enabled areas of leadership.
How far away are we from that?
It's one of those weird things where, ideas that were developed 20 years ago seem to have come back around. Yeah. So I think if we can all come together, we can do that over the next 5 to 10 years. It's not as if it's a tough thing to implement, but I think it's going to have to be piggybacked on our drive now to make sure that everyone has access to the broadband internet.
Yes, no question about that. You and I have been talking about that for over 20 years. We've been trying to, we've made some progress there. Abhas, same question to you. Again, you're looking at it from an entirely different perspective, of course.
Yeah, so I think for me, what we're doing with our CanSat program, CanSat are basically these educational satellites that you build in a volume constraint of a Coca-Cola can, right? So these are low-cost satellite, non-flight satellite systems. And since 2016, we have been doing that. What we have targeted now is every year we have been going to a younger group of students. So we started out with university, we went to high school, and then we went to middle school. So right now we are targeting grade 7, 8, 9. So the idea is basically if we can train them from that very young age, and if we can target that kind of population, and of course we'll have to be careful what we teach them. We have to make sure that our curriculum is designed for those kind of age group. But if we can do that, I think we can then have this massive talent pool in the future of Nepalese engineers who have had 10 years of experience before they join industry, right? So if they can do that from let's say a toy satellite, and then they go on to build a CubeSat, then they're starting to be better, they have confidence, they have gone through the entire process. And in that way, we could have a diverse pool of engineers from Nepal itself, and then they can go out and join the industry, join the workforce in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, very, very well said. And a lot of it really is a sort of muscle memory, industrial muscle memory, right? Just doing the same things over and over and over again as the ecosystem forms, and then you've got a cultural imperative to push out into the world. Got about a couple of minutes left. I'm going to ask that same question to Abiodun, but maybe a little bit differently. As I mentioned at the outset, you've been very active in advocacy on the issue of space inclusion, and you were invited by the African Union to be part of the Innovating Education in Africa event and things like that. Where do you think the next step is for your country and your region to move out and to begin to be part of the global talent pool and also to bring talent in?
So I believe that if we all come together to work as a team to collaborate and cooperate towards achieving success, we'll surely get it right in the next few years. Noting that everything we are doing must be centered around the 3 pillars of sustainability. So the project must be economically friendly, socially friendly, and environmentally friendly. So we need to embrace all the 3 pillars of sustainability in order for us to move forward on this project.
We could probably speak for another hour on this subject, but I want to thank each of you for coming to us here today, this afternoon, and tonight, depending on where you are, from Nepal, from Nigeria, and of course from New York City. Thank you all for being a part of this dialogue. We really appreciate it. Well, that concludes my visit with our guests from Nigeria, Nepal, and New York. To learn more about my guests here today, visit Silicon Harlem at siliconharlem.com. For more about the Nigerian chapter of SSPI, go to sspi.org/chapter. And you can hear my 2-part podcast with Abhas Maskey at sspi.org/podcast. And join me next week when we continue this series with a look at Afrofuturism and the role of the imagination in space. Thanks again to the underwriters of Space for All, SES, and the 20 under 35 cohort of 2020, as well as our corporate members and members of SSPI and its chapters for their ongoing support of the better satellite world. SSPI makes leaders. And remember, on December 7th, SSPI and its UK and Isle of Man chapters will host the annual Better Satellite World Awards dinner. Tickets are available for this year's virtual event at sspi.org. To learn more about our Better Satellite World narrative and to hear more podcasts and see videos of a better world being made before your eyes, go to bettersatelliteworld.com. If you're not a member of SSPI and would like to be, go to sspi.org. Student memberships are free. And follow us on Twitter at SSPI and check us out on LinkedIn and Facebook. For Space and Satellite Professionals International and our producer, Ana Gomez, I'm Lou Zaccarella. Let's go out there and up there and make it a better satellite world.